Hi, this is Prashad Parthiban. In our last training video, we started to cover commercial property insurance and building and personal property coverage form under commercial property is one of the mostly used form. So in today's session, we will cover more about building and personal property coverage form. As I told you, there are multiple forms under commercial property. We could have building and personal property or business income, but 80% of the time we use this form, so we'll cover this form in detail. To start with, these are the three primary coverages we give when it comes to BPP. So the first one is building. We all know if I have to run my business, I need a building. So we need to make sure that the building has the required coverage. When I say building, it's not the physical building alone. It's like any fixtures. When I say fixtures, if I have a plumbing or electrical wire that is attached to the building, those also will be covered. Or any kind of additions to the building. So if I have a building, I have the required coverage. Tomorrow I'm doing some kind of additions where I'm restructuring the building. So that will also be covered. Also, any personal property that is permanently attached to the building, like fire extinguisher or like the dryer, washer. So all those things are termed under building coverage. The next one is business personal property. So this is the section where we will cover any personal property that we use for our business. Say if I am using a Xerox machine or my computers or anything that I use for my business that is used as a personal property, we'll cover that under business personal property. So sometimes what happens in case if you are doing some kind of alterations to the real property, like example, if I have a customer who is renting a particular building for his restaurant business. Now, if he makes some particular changes to the building itself, like adding a coloring frame, still that will be considered as business personal property because he is going to use that, he is going to make a required alterations and then it cannot be removed. But even though it comes under building, since the tenant is doing it as a temporary basis, we use that under business personal property. The third one is personal property of others. We all know sometimes a business could have personal properties of others. Like a good example is dry cleaning. Say in case of dry cleaning, we do have properties of other unit owners. So in those scenarios, we do have required coverage if you go with the coverage C, personal property of others. Along with these three coverages, we have something like properties not covered. So we have to make sure to review both sections, like these three coverages plus the property not covered. For property not covered, a good example could be like a property that is smuggled products, as well as a property that could be covered under other insurance. Like if you have an electronic equipment, most of the time electronic equipments are covered under unique insurance, separate insurance policies. Those could not be covered under these policies. Or there could be a property that is not even eligible for covering, like if in case if there are structures beneath the basement which has no possibility of loss, then those will not be covered. So we do list properties that are not covered to make sure we are on the same page. So pretty much these are the properties that are covered under building and personal property coverage. Now let's see what are the additional coverages by default the insurance company gives apart from these coverages. So that's what we are going to see. The first one is debris removal. See, if I have a business, if some loss happens to my building, as a result there is a debris. Debris is nothing but waste products that is created as a result of an accident. So we need to make sure the insurance company gives required coverage to clean up the debris. So for all this additional coverages, there is a set of limit that the insurance company is going to give, so that once that limit is used, we will not give any other further coverages. Second one is preservation of property. If in case a loss happened, we need to make sure that we need to preserve the property, right? So we need to remove the property and serve it in some other place so that there is no further damage to the personal property. So in those scenarios, this coverage will be applicable. Again, for this we do have a set limit. In this scenario, say like you have a personal property which has list of cause of loss. Now if you take this property and keep it in a temporary location, one advantage is there the cause of loss will not come into account. Anything that damages the property, the coverage will be applicable 100%. Again, this is for a temporary basis, like for say like 30 to 60 days, which will be explicitly mentioned in the policy document. Fire department service charge. We all know if something happens, a fire department has to come there and they have to help us. In those scenarios, if there is any service charge that has to be given to the fire department, those coverages will be taken care as part of this fire department service charge. Pollutant cleanup. Again, if there is any pollution that is created that is causing especially damage to the land or building, then those coverages also will be taken care under this pollutant cleanup as a kind of fixed limit. Increased cost of construction. So in certain cases, if I have a building and if there is an increased cost of construction, then those coverages will also be taken care as part of this additional coverages. Like say if you have a building which kind of had a damage, then you are rebuilding the home as part of this increased cost. Like the initial estimate is like 10,000 and as a result there is an increase in cost of 12,000 for various reasons. There will be a set of limit, the maximum limit that the insurance company will take care under this increased cost of construction. Electronic data. We all know most of the time the electronic data is going to be covered under a different policy. In certain cases, if a customer wants a limited coverage, they can use this electronic coverage, additional coverage for a certain limit. So pretty much these are the additional coverages that we have in building and personal property coverage forms. Now let's go to coverage extensions. So the coverage extensions is going to be applicable only if the insured is going to have 80% of the co-insurance limit. What is this 80% co-insurance? So we all know if I have a building, I have to have a replacement cost. Let's say like if you are having a building worth 1 million and insurance company will say that to replace this building, the cost that we need as a replacement cost is the actual cost that it needs to rebuild the home or the building of the business if some damage happens. So if they say it's going to be 80,000, then you at least have to have 80% of that 80,000. If they tell you the replacement cost is 80,000, you should have around 70,000, so that if something happens to the building, the insurance company is going to give required coverage. So this additional coverage extensions are going to be applicable if you have 80% of the co-insurance limit. That's what we want to make sure. If you have less than 80%, if you decide that to pay less premium, let's have only 60% of the co-insurance limit, then this coverage extensions are not going to be given to the insured. To start with, newly acquired or constructed property. Say I have a business in a particular location with 2 buildings. Tomorrow if I am adding a 3rd building, so by default for next 30 days coverage will be applicable to the new building, and within 30 days I can go back to the insurance company and then I can add this new building. So again, for this coverage extensions we do call it as special limit. So there will be a set of special limit that will be applicable to the policy. So once that special limit is exhausted, then we will not be able to use further any more coverages. Second thing is personal effects and properties of others. The same thing is applicable here. Say if you have jewelries or coat that is there in your building, and if something happens, there will be a special limit mentioned in the policy. That limit will be applicable to this personal effects. Similarly, the properties of others, as I told you with dry cleaning, if they have their properties under our location, and if you don't have this personal properties of other coverage, and this will come into play, properties of others with the special limit, whatever the limit that is there in the declaration page. Valuable papers and records. We all know sometimes we could have legal documents and everything. So again, there is a special limits for that. So until the special limit is available, the required coverage will be given to the valuable papers and records. Property off premises. Our entire understanding is any personal property, business personal property which is within 100 square feet, it will be covered. If in case if it is above, after 100 square feet of it is taken outside, there will be a set of special limits that can be applicable for the properties that are outside the premises. So outdoor properties, like sometimes the trees, shrubs, those are not covered. So in those scenarios, there will be a special limit that will be covered. The one thing that we have to take into account is when they cover, there is a special cause of loss. Like they will explicitly say if it is covered due to rain or something, vandalism, it is covered. If it is damaged due to no wind or something, it will not be covered. So there will be explicit mention about cause of loss when it comes to the outdoor properties. Non-owned detached trailers. We know certain businesses need a extra equipment or a extra trailer to save their business properties. In those cases, if something happens to those non-detached trailers, there will be a special limit that we can use to give required coverage. Trailers are nothing but, say if you have a building, you would see that a separate trailer will be there, a kind of box where this building owners or the business people will use those trailers to save additional items in the trailers. BPP, temporarily in the portable storage units. In case if you have a business personal property that you have in a portable storage units apart from the trailers, even those will be taken into account. The difference between portable units is like where you have a box, but in case of trailers it will be a kind of movable item that you can rent and then store the items. Pretty much this is what I would like to cover as part 1 in building and personal property. In my next session I will cover the remaining items like cause of loss forms and what are the endorsements that we can have in building and personal property in detail. So I hope you like my training videos. If you like my training videos, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Have a great day. Bye bye.